So before we go, happy Child's Day, everyone. So it's a good timing to discuss about the Child's Study today. And I'm Xue Jiao, a postdoc fellow at CFPR. Today, I would like to share my work with Prof. Jin Yang on achievement gap before school in Singapore, family SES, parenting, and young children's delay of gratification. So before we get into the study, first you may be wondering why I'm interested in early childhood, because early childhood is very crucial to the human development. Children's development in the early years are very fast, and they are easily affected by environmental factors and show great malleability. Also, research has shown that there is a long-term impact of the early childhood development on the children's life chance in their adulthood. And intervention in the early years are more effective compared to the intervention in the later stage when the children are older or on the adults. And also, researchers have identified great individual difference in children's development due to the societal, social, and family factors. Therefore, it's our interest to see what's valor and to what extent there is a gap in children's cognitive development before preschool, and if so, what's the mediating mechanism? And what's the role of family SES and other parental factors in early cognitive development of children before school? So before we go to the study, I would like to briefly go through the literature and discuss about the mediating mechanisms of the family SES on children's development. So in the current literature, three pathways are widely used to explain the impact of family SES on children's development. The first pathway is the family investment pathway. It highlights the role of parental investment in a stimulating learning environment, such as like providing material resources, including books, educational toys, and also non-material resources such as like parental involvement, like shared reading and library visits and museum visits. And the second pathway is the family stress model. It underscores the negative impact of family economic stress and its impact on the caregiver's depressive effect, and then the parenting style such as parental warmth and harsh discipline. And the third pathway is the parental belief and expectation. Literature has suggested that parental belief may affect their socialization goals of the children and their parenting practices. And there are several gaps in the current literature. First, in the current literature, most of them treat regard young children as a passive recipient of environmental influence. Therefore, their agency is well explored. And also the association between parental beliefs, parenting behavior, and subsequently children's agency has not been well examined. Moreover, the current study is centered most of the current literature is centered on Western countries, with insufficient attention to Asian countries such as Singapore. And actually, Singapore provides a very unique context for us to study the intergenerational roots of the achievement gap. First, Singapore is a culturally and socio-economically diverse society. There are four main ethnic groups in Singapore. And economically, Singapore is among the richest countries in the world, while there is an increasing income inequality. And a recent study has shown that around 10% of Singapore households suffer from food insecurity in the past 12 months. And culturally, Singaporeans have high value in education and family. And moreover, there's a concern of the intergenerational transmission of disadvantage. As children grow up poor, are more likely to be low achievers than their better off counterparts in their adulthood. Therefore, For these concerns, we want to focus on the young children's development in Singapore. And there are some studies in Singapore as well, and here are some of the gaps. First, most of the studies are conducted by psychologists, and the focus is on the language skill, and less attention is put on the achievements such as mathematics skills. Second, in terms of the risk factors, like home literacy environment and parental involvement has been explored, but other mediators is under explored, and more specifically, the mediating pathway of family SES on preschool children's achievement is not fully examined. Methodologically, the current studies most of the current studies on the Singapore preschool children collect data from schools with selective sample. Therefore, there is more limited information about home, and the home environment is very crucial in early childhood development. To address this gap, we aim to examine the impact of family SES on Singapore preschool children's achievement and the mediating pathway. We use a reasoned nationally representative sample with international standardized tests and a lot of comprehensive measures. And this is the conceptual framework proposed in this study. As you can see, we propose that parental education and income have an impact on children's numeracy and verbal scores. And it works through 3 different mediating pathways: the family investment pathway, parental belief, expectation, and parenting practices. And the third pathway is children's delay of gratification. So next, let's move to the study. First, I would like to introduce the data set I use. It's from the Singapore Longitudinal Early Development Study. It's short for SG-LEAD. This study, the principal investigator is Prof. Ji Yang, the first author of this paper, and it's funded by MOE and housed by CFPR. We have already finished the first wave of the study, and we have interviewed 5,000 Singaporean children under age 7 in 3,400 households. This is a map to show the distribution of the household across the island, and we have a relatively balanced distribution across different age groups. And here is the distribution of the children's gender and their ethnicity. So for SG-LEAD is the first nationally representative sample of family with children age 6 below 7 in Singapore. The survey adopts a multi-stage stratified probability sampling and oversample the low-income groups. And it's an in-home interview with the children's primary caregiver, mostly the mother. And in SG-LEAD, we include a lot of measures widely used in other international studies, such as PSID in the US. The analytic sample for this, for the current specific study is the with 1 children age 4 to 6, and the sample size is 2,100. For this study, sampling weights are used to adjust for the selection probability. So here, let's proceed to the measurement of this study. Here is the dependent variable. So children's achievement is the outcome variable we are modeling on. It's measured by an international standardized test named Woodcock-Johnson test of achievement, the 4th edition. And there are 2 constructs of children's achievement. First is the numeracy score. It's a combination of the applied problem and calculation. And the other one is the verbal score. It's a combination of letter word identification and passage comprehension. The scores are age standardized before using in the analysis. And to standardize it, it means to transfer the scores into a z-score of with mean of 0 and standard deviation of 1, and it's done by for each age group, so that it reflects each child's relatively stand compared to the peers in the same age group. And the independent variable is the family income and the parental education. They are both in the continuous form. So here are the three sets of mediators. The first set is the family economic stress and investment. There are four indicators. The first one is whether the family can make ends meet at the end of the month. This is to capture the family economic stress. And the second one is the physical home environment. It's reported by the interviewers on the cleanliness and crowdedness of the home. And this is a score to reflect the physical home environment. And the third one is whether the child has access to computer. This is to reflect their access to learning materials. And the last one is the shared activities between the adults and the children, such as shared book reading and library visits. And for the second set of the mediator, it's the parental beliefs, aspiration, and parenting practices. And the first indicator of this set is the instrumental value of children. This is selected from value of children scale. It captures the parents' purpose of raising a child. So the the instrumental purpose include like old age security and carry on family names. And primary caregivers' educational expectation on their children are also reported and used. The third indicator is whether the family has savings for children's education. And the last indicator is the rule settings on children's homework and after-school activities. And the last set of the mediator is children's delay of gratification. It is measured by 9 test trials of the delay of gratification choice paradigm. In this game, the children are asked to choose between getting a small and immediately reward and getting a large but large and delayed reward at the end of the game. So if they choose getting the rewards now, they get 0 score. But if they choose to get the rewards later, then they get 1 score. Here are some of the control variables. We also include the primary caregiver's cognitive ability and the children's primary language. For this study, we use the structural equation modeling with full information maximum likelihood, and we apply the cluster standard error to account for the unobserved household effect for households with more than 1 children participate in the study. To clarify, in this study, we select up to 2 children in a household. So some households get 1 children, some households get 2 children. So first, I would like to give you an overview of the income gap, income achievement gap among Singapore children. So for ease of interpretation, I use income quartile here. That is to transfer income to 4 different quartiles. Income Q4 means the highest 25% income group, and income Q1 is the lowest 25 income group. So as we can see from this figure, those from the lower income groups, they scored significantly lower than the highest income group, children of the highest income group. And the gap in the numeracy score is 0.85 of a standard deviation. For verbal scores, the pattern is similar and the gap is smaller. It's 0.7 of a standard deviation. And all the gaps between lower income groups with the highest income group are statistically significant. And here is to have some sense of the variation of the mediators by the income groups. As we can see, those from the lower income groups, they tend to have higher instrumental values of children, and they have lower educational expectation on their children. They also experience higher economic pressure. And in terms of other indicators, their home environment score is lower compared to the highest income group, and the frequency of shared activities between the adults and children is much lower compared to the highest income group. And their children have relatively lower score in the delay of gratification test. This is also an overview of the gap by parental education. It's categorized into three educational groups: the university and above, post-secondary, and secondary and below. And similar as what we have found in family income, there's a clear gradient by parental education, and the gap is like 0.75 on numeracy and 0.7 on verbal. And the gap with the highest educational group is significant. Here is also an overview of the mediators by the different parental education. Their patterns are generally the same as what we have found in family income. So I will not go into the detail here. So here is also a similar, like there is a gradient here. And now let's move to the results in the structural equation modeling. First, I would like to show the impact of family income and parental education on the numeracy scores with different structural equation modelings. First one is the binary correlation. This is using the family income as a continuous variable, and the coefficients here are the standardized coefficient. So we can see in the bivariate correlation, the coefficient is 0.2, and it decreased to 0.13 when parental education is control 4. And when we further add into the demographic variables, it further goes down to like 0.08. And model 4, model 5, and model 6 are the mediating models. Each includes one set of mediator. So model 4 is after controlling for the parental belief, the coefficient further goes down. And if we control the investment indicator, it goes down to about 0.06, and this is the coefficient after we control for the children's delay of gratification. And the full model is a combination of all the three different pathways and all the control variables. So in this the flow, we find that the impact is 0.06, and all the coefficients are statistically significant. That means at the end there is still a significant income effect on children's numeracy score, and each set of the mediators help to explain some of the impacts. And for parental education, it's quite similar. Like the impact is going down after we control for more control variables and mediators. And this is the model 4 to model 6 is the coefficient for different sets of mediators, and this is the final coefficient of the full model. So now let's proceed to the mediating pathway. Yeah, it is a bit compressed as we get quite a lot of the mediators. So don't worry, I will walk you through it. So first, the family income mediator is here. The economic pressure, home environment is on the top, and two of them is on the below is here, activity and computer. These four variables are the family investment indicators. And the second set of the mediator is here. The parental beliefs and parenting practices, such as instrumental value of children, expectation, rules, and savings. And the third mediator is here, the delay of gratification. And for ease of interpretation, I highlight the lines starting from income as red, and the ones from parental education are in blue. So first, for family income, we find that there is a direct pathway to a children's numeracy score. And there is also indirect pathways. they are going to learn economic pressure, educational expectation, and instrumental values of children. And these three variables, they both have direct pathways to children's numeracy score. And they also have indirect pathways linking to the home environment and also children's shared activities. So this home environment and shared activities has an impact to children's numeracy score. So this is consistent as what have been suggested in the literature, that parental beliefs has an impact on their parenting behaviors and their investment on children. And income has no direct pathway to the delay of gratification. And for parental education, we find that you can see there are quite a lot of group pathways. Like parental education is affecting almost all the mediators tested in this study. And there is a significant parental educational effects in the model. And here, let's go through the different sets one by one. First is the impact of parental education to the family investment mediators. First is like parental education affect the family economic pressure and also the shared activities with the children. And these two variables have a direct impact on children's numeracy scores. The second set is going to the parental beliefs and parenting behaviors, as we can see that parents with higher education, like more likely to have saving and setting boundaries on their children's activity. And they also tend to have higher educational expectation and lower instrumental values on their children. And this for indicators of parental beliefs, they both have like direct pathways to the children's numeracy scores and indirect pathways through like affecting the home environment and activities. We have also find this pattern in the income effect. And for the third set of the mediator, we find that parental education is positively related to the children's ability of to delay gratification. And this is a direct impact, and there is also an indirect impact. It works through setting parental role settings on children's activity. And then for delay of gratification, it has a very large impact on children's numeracy scores. And to mention, all the pathways here are statistically significant. And for verbal scores, the patterns are quite similar, except for that there are no direct pathway from income and education to the verbal score. In terms of the indirect pathways, they are quite similar as what we have shown in the numeracy score. Therefore, I will not go into detail here. So now let's proceed to the direct, indirect, and total effect. In SEM, we can estimate the direct effect, indirect effect, and total effect. And as shown here, for the two independent variables, both income and education have direct and indirect effects to children's numeracy scores. And for parental income, the impact is quite large. And for the first set of mediator is the family investment mediator. We find that economic pressure is negatively related to children's numeracy scores, and there are some like indirect impacts as well. And home environment and shared activity also show a substantial impact on children's numeracy scores. And for parents' value, the instrumental value is negatively related to children's numeracy score, and the educational expectation is positively related to the scores, and there are indirect pathways. For children's delay of gratification, it shows the largest impact among all the mediators. And another thing I want to point out is the primary caregiver's cognitive ability. It shows that it has a significant indirect and total effect on children's numeracy scores. For verbal scores, the general patterns are quite similar, except for there's no except for there's no significant direct effect, but the indirect effect are still there. And for the different mediators, the impact of family investment mediators has a slightly larger impact on children's verbal score than on numeracy scores. So I will not go to the tables of the verbal score here. So now let's move to the conclusion section. First, we have shown that there is a very large gap between children of different SES groups before they go to school, and this gap is likely to widen as children enter school. And as we have shown in the previous charts, the gap is very large, like 0.8 and 0.7 standard deviation between different highest and lowest income groups and highest and lowest educational groups in the two scores. And after we control for the mediators, there is still an significant income effect and educational effect on numeracy scores. But for verbal scores, we have already explained all the explained the difference. And among all the, as mentioned, among all the variables, parental education show a substantial impact, and the pathway is both directly and indirectly. And among the mediators, the most important factor is the children's delay of gratification. And we also find that family economic deprivation is detrimental to children's test scores. And other important mediators include like parental educational aspirations, home environment, and shared activities. And I would like to talk about some of the contribution of the current study. First, it is the study. This study used the first nationally representative data set on Singapore preschool children, and it sheds light on the three different mediating pathways of family SES on children's achievement. And in this study, we incorporate the children's agency, and we show that it's important to children's achievement. And we also show the association between parental beliefs, parenting behavior, and subsequently children's agency. And the relation, the link is like below. Like parents from with different SES status have different values and educational expectations on their children, and such difference have an impact on their plans and actions for their children, including like savings for their education, or setting boundary on children's activities, or providing a stimulating learning environment. All of these are conducive to children's achievement. And in addition, we show that parental education have both direct and indirect impact on children's agency, children's self-regulation. Therefore, we highlight the possibility of fostering the children's self-regulation skills through parenting practice during the early years. Second, we also we also confirm the applicability of the mediating mechanisms shown in the Western countries in the context of Singapore. Finally, we have highlighted the intergenerational roots of the disadvantage shown in the early childhood. So we suggest that it will cause a vicious cycle of transmission of disadvantage if it's left unattended. Bear in mind the early childhood uneven development in the early childhood of the Singapore preschool children. We want to suggest some policy implications. The first one is we think it's very crucial to improve the children's performance, especially those low-income children, as they have already left behind quite a lot with their better off counterparts. And this gap is likely to widen as these children get older. Therefore, the intervention should be as early as possible. Here are some possible suggestions. The first one is we suggest that the government should work to improve the children's human capital, includes their their income and relieve their financial deprivation and promote their parenting knowledge and behaviors. More specifically, like they can provide more support and guidance on their learning materials and educational resources. This will be helpful to narrow down the gap in parental resources and capability. And also, it's important to provide more guidance to the parents on how to organize the home or stay active and supervise and work with the children or seek out different activities for the children. And in addition to the intervention to the parents, the intervention program to the children is also very important. Like child-based programs should be enhance children's self-regulation ability. And also for children, improving the home environment is as important as, if not more important than enhancing early childcare system. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, for the very nice presentation. Okay.
Dr. Ding, I think you haven't opened your mic.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. So thank you
sorry,
very much.
I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me? But I'm unmute myself already. Can you hear me? Okay. Oh. Okay.
Should I stop sharing?
It's fine. I think later, we will have more questions. Yeah. So I think the other people,
sorry, I still cannot hear you.
No. Other people can hear me. Okay. So okay. Yeah. So I think Xuejiao cannot hear me, but the others can hear you. Can hear me. So it's fine. So I think if for any of you have questions, you can either put your comments on the chat, or you just unmute yourself and talk. Yeah. So okay, I saw Shu Hua have questions. So maybe can you talk?
Hi. Do you mean Shu Hua?
I'm sorry, there should be some issue at my computer, so I cannot hear your voice.
Okay, then I'll type my questions in the chat window.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, I can hear now. Sorry for the technical issue.
Okay, I'm sorry for cutting in the queue. I saw Patron already posted a lengthy question in the chat group. Since I'm speaking, so let me just ask. Actually, I have 3 sets of questions. So my first set of questions is about the timing of the data collection you are using for this study. I suppose there are 2 waves of the data set for this SG Lead project already, right? And the second wave is done during, this pandemic is still going on. So,
yes.
So just to confirm whether the data for your presentation is solely from the first wave, and that was before the pandemic, right?
Yes, it's purely from the first wave. The first wave was conducted in 2018 to 2019, just before the pandemic. Okay. And the second wave is ongoing, we will start it maybe at the end of this year.
Okay, thank you. My second set of questions are about the mediators, the mediating channels you were talking about in the research. So the instrumental value of children as a mediator and the delay of gratification, which has turned out to be one of the largest predictor in your model, right? And I'm just wondering about the mechanism behind these 2. So how do parents' instrumental value of children affect children's verbal scores and numeracy scores? I just want to understand the underlying mechanism. And the same with delay of gratification, which is very significant. And based on my limited knowledge, this seems to be used as a measure of children's non-cognitive skill. So basically, how does this affect children's cognitive skills, their performance here? So that's the second set of questions. Oh, sorry, just one more. Basically, I noticed that you have put whether the family has savings for children's education as part of the values expectations mechanism, right? But I'm thinking maybe this has more to do with the economic investment, their economic resources, not so much about values. And my third set of questions are about the other contexts, like whether you have data on what type of preschool institutions these children are attending, and basically the neighborhood and the type of like a kindergarten or nursery, whether this has played a role in your story. And who are the primary caregiver, whether it's the mother or it's the grandparent, and whether this has a role to play in your story. Thank you for your very rich findings, and I think the differences are very striking, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. So, Dr. Ding, I will address this question first.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thank you, Hu Shu, for the questions. They are very good. So, first question I've already clarified. And for the second question, yeah, for the instrumental value of the children. In the literature, it shows that the instrumental value of children also has an impact on their like socialization goals and parenting practices. Xiaorong also did one study in China among the middle school children. So it's like in the Western, in the literature, it's just that like for those who have high instrumental value, they tend to like highlight on the children's like economic ability in the future. And for those who have more like emotional values, they tend to highlight the children's like characteristics, and therefore they tend to be like more involved in their children's development than those who have high instrumental value. And these two values are somewhat exclusive. That means if something have high instrumental value, the emotional value is relatively low. Therefore, here I only use the instrumental values here. And for the delay of gratification, yes, it's a non-cognitive ability. It's like under the big map of like self-regulation skills. So in terms of the impact, like children who are more able to be to regulate their behavior, they can also more likely to like be focused on their study on like and also get rid of their environmental distractions during their study. Therefore, this is related to their numeracy score. And I'm not an expert in psychology. We have experts here, so this is my understanding. So if I'm not accurate, please point it out. And for the savings for education, yes, it also have some meanings about like parental investment, but we think it's more related it's more related to like whether the parents are planning ahead for the children. Like if they want the children to go into like college or go abroad, they maybe have like specific savings for children's education for to planning for the future. Therefore, we consider it as a plan. Like a belief as a part of the parental belief. And for the Singapore context, yes, we have a type of school, and I did not use it here. But I control whether the children are in school in the model, and it does not have a independent impacts in the final model. Yeah, and I think for type of school, yes, it may be very interesting to explore the impact. Thank you. And also for the primary caregiver, I may not be quite clear in the previous sharing. Like the primary caregiver is mostly the first priority is mothers, then the fathers. And if both of them are not available, then we go to like other adults or the grandparents. So in our study, 95% of the primary caregiver are mothers, 3% are fathers, and only like 1.something% are grandparents and others. Therefore, I do not control for it in the model as it's mostly mothers. Thank you.
Thank you, Xuejiao. So I saw a lot of questions actually in the chat. So Xuejiao, can you address their questions one by one? So first is patrons' comments, questions. So patron would like to ask about the theoretical explanations on home environment, yeah, on children's test score.
For the physical home environment, actually it captures not only the environmental arrangement. So it reflects the parents their organization skills. These organization skills, on one hand, it can be children can model their parents' organization skills on one hand, and on the other hand, a more organized environmental will also impact their their subjective well-being, their surrounding is not in a messy, they are well organized. So it provides a good environment for children to focus on their studies. Yeah, this is my understanding. And also, in my previous study on the Chinese preschool children, I also found that the home environment has a negative, it's related to the parental subjective well-being. If the home is the home environment is not so good, then parents parents also showing higher depressive feelings net of other controls such as the economic pressure. Yeah.
Thank you. I think the second question is from BB. So BB's question is, can you comment on effective strategies to help children of low-income families to improve academic performance? Yeah.
And in terms of the policy implications I mentioned in the last slide, there are several ways to do it. There are some programs they are parent based. So on the parental level, we can indirectly we can improve the family income and relieve the economic deprivation and increasing the parental education. This is to to increase the resource level the children may have, and more directly is through providing more learning material to the children. At the community level, we can have provide learning books or the educational toys to the children, and also we can distribute some of the educational resource both online or in paper to the children. Therefore, it may help to narrow down the gap between parental resources and capabilities, because maybe only the low-income parents, they are not able to afford this. If we provide this to it helps to alleviate the negative impact of the parental resources.
Thank you. So I think BB have another question about how effective is the national policy. Can you comment on this? How effective is the national policy for helping low-income families in terms of helping children to perform better academically?
For this question, I do not have a ready answer, and in my understanding, at least Singapore is doing good in terms of improving the enrollment rate in the preschool education. In our sample, 98% of the children are in a preschool. This is very good, and so I think my co-author Prof. Jin Yang may have more comments on this issue.
I just want to add a little bit about the policy. I think Singapore is doing a lot of good things and good policies, especially in the recent 2 to 3 years in improving the lot and the quality of the preschool education and giving all kinds of assistance and subsidies to low-income populations. What is could do more is
Jean, I think your voice is a bit low. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay, so I have to closer. Sorry about that. Some of the things I think that can be done more is to take care of the basic needs of these young children. And particular, the food insecurity is one thing that can, I think, can be done a lot more. And we do find that there's still young children that are suffering from food insecurity. We see that there's the lower quartiles of the income households, they are still having a lot of financial pressures, strains, such as late in paying bills and having to borrow money from others. So I think these kind of pressure is affecting negatively to a lot of the family processes. Also, what our study is pointing out is more stronger parental-based policy.
Sorry, Jean, I think that the voice now, just now, is also like a bit slow, a bit low. Maybe you try to use earphone, but this is not like the Bluetooth one.
I know the Bluetooth are overrated. Okay, let's try this. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Soft.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can.
You hear me?
Yeah, now it's much better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say that we have highlighted that the factors in the home is very important, if not more important than preschool's factors outside of home during this period of time. That is crucial for children's cognitive development. So there are a lot of things that the government can do, and we can have a much longer conversation about that. But basically, both child-based and parent-based policy needs to happen, and both in-home help as well as out-of-home help, such as the quality of daycare and all that, are both very important.
Thank you, Jean. So Xuejiao, do you have any other? So maybe we just move to the next questions. So next question is from Xiaorong. Xiaorong wanted to clarify which sets of mediators and predictors are theoretically related to child agency.
In my model, I use the child's delay of gratification to reflect their agency, because I consider it's like like child level characteristics, and the child can like it's their own characteristics. Yeah.
Thank you. So another question is from Jiyong Li. Jiyong is wondering if you tested all indirect effects regarding on each mediators using bootstrapping method.
Not yet. So I can have a try.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so do anyone have any other questions? Maybe we can ask.
Sorry, I do have a question. Can I know if this paper is going to be published somewhere that we can gain access to? Because the data is extremely important, and I'm actually moving from academia to youth sector where we are mentoring youth and children. So such data is going to be very, very useful also to the youth, to the social service sector. And it would be helpful to have a hard copy or published copy. Is there any way that we can get hold of the copy?
Prof. Yang, did you want to respond?
Yeah, thank you so much. We're working very hard. You know, we just finished data collection not very long ago. There is a working paper that we're still polishing, and the paper will undergo review soon. But I believe that this seminar will be recorded, so you can have access to them. I think we will be putting it on YouTube soon.
Mm.
So yeah.
I'm just wondering if you could also put up the working paper on your website. Is that possible?
Not yet, no.
Not
But
yet. Okay.
when we have a good copy, we'll be
Okay.
happy to do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
In addition, I would like to mention that in our CFPR website, we have some like research updates on the like respondents reports 1 and 2. There are some descriptive statistics on our SG leads data set. So if you are interested, you can search it on our website.
Right, that's a good point. We can also write up some brief summaries for this report too.
Yes, that would be very helpful,
Yeah.
especially your whatever data you have now. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely provided already on our study website. So
Okay.
you can go to NUS SG leads, and under there's all kinds of support report that tells you what the study is about and what kind of study what kind of data that we're collecting. We're now launching the second wave only because of there was a delay because of the COVID-19, but we're going to be starting data collection for second wave soon. And hopefully third wave and fourth wave, and by the time they become youth, maybe it will be even more useful for your group.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Sorry, one more question, because the youth mentoring agency we do run equipping for youth mentors, and we run Zoom sessions like that. And I'm just wondering if it's possible to invite, either Jean or one of you to share if we want to talk about this topic.
Yeah, let's discuss offline on that.
Sure.
Thank you very
Okay.
much for your invitation.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So okay. Maybe we have still some time. Yeah. Maybe we will have one more question. Is anyone have any questions? Okay.
Sorry, maybe I can ask one more question.
Okay.
I did a research on low-income families and children in terms of the reading program that the childcare center was running, where they were equipping the parents of low-income families to read to their children. One very important results that I found was that the parents complain they honestly don't have time because they can work up to 2 to 3 jobs per week. So the question is, in terms of your data on shared time between parent and child, that will affect achievement. I mean, how can we deal with this issue? Because the main problem is that the parents do not have the time. Yeah.
Prof. Yang, do you want to respond or you want me to respond?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for this question. Yeah, it is. We also find in the next talk, Dr. Li Yongjing will share her findings on the time diary with between the child spent with the parents. So she also have some findings on the like across different households, what's the amount of time between the parent and the child. And yes, we also find that. For the low income groups, they are spending less, and as you mentioned, there's a time constraint in the parental time, the time. And I think for this part, it's like if the parents cannot it's not actually like parents themselves to be involved. Like for the high income parents, if they cannot involve, they outsource it. They send a child to like enrichment class or different like training programs. And therefore, if the community program can be available for the low income children, I think the impact there should be some impact as well. Yeah.
If I could just say that, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, this is an extremely important question because the low-income population are not just you know, income poor or wealth poor, but they're time poor, as you pointed out, especially groups like a single parent family. This is a very important issue, and it's a much longer and deeper policy debate that needs to happen, because there are policies that sees, you know, parent of young children that we need to protect their time at home to do more with children. And so, but here the policy encourages full-time employment of the mother for young children and in low-income families. So that is a very philosophically deep question of policy issues to discuss that we can't get into. But I acknowledge that that is extremely important, that they're time poor that needs to be discussed. But so our study do have very rich time diary data that we will be presenting in a few weeks. Do join us. What we haven't done is to combine the time and other resources more carefully, and we will continue to do that. But as a policy, that is a very difficult issue that I think the country also need to take a deep look and see if there's something else that needs to be done about that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Jing and Xuejiao. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you all for participating in this share session.